All right, good morning and welcome to a very special edition of Kabbalah Cafe. Remember that show Between the Ferns?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a comedy show called Between the Ferns. Yeah, it was with some like a Greek sounding name guy. Whatever. I don't know that I watched it, but I remember hearing about it. So we are between the ferns. What ferns? We're between the Kabbalah books, which means we just closed one book last week. Literally, we finished a book that we had started, I don't know, months earlier, and we're about to start a new book. We're going to start the new book next week. This week, because in honor of the holiday of Shavuot, which is the anniversary of the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, which is like what defines us as a people, what defines Jews as Jews. It's having the Torah, which is this living and breathing document of not only ideas, but also calls to action, how to live a good, healthy, moral, decent, divinely inspired life. That's what Torah is. So in celebration and acknowledgement of the anniversary of the giving of the Torah, once again this year, so we are having a very special class all about what happened at Sinai. And just so you know, how many years ago was it? 3,336. 3,336. That's a lot of years ago, right? That's not like America has been a country for what? How many years? Less than 300. This is 3,330. You would think by now it would be like, where's the new document? No, we still got it. We're still plugged in. We still love it. So today, what I want to do is explore the experience of Sinai from a Kabbalistic perspective and explore specifically one mitzvah, one of the 613 commandments. That is, I would say it's one of the more famous ones. And we're going to explore it both from a practical, literal level or practical level, basic level, as well as from a mystical level, Kabbalistic level. And we'll see how the Kabbalah, in other words, the spiritual understanding of the mitzvah helps give a much better understanding of the basic story itself. Let me explain what I'm saying right now. So there are 4 levels of Torah interpretation. We've discussed this many times: Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. Simple explanation, you have the allegorical, the homiletical, and the mystical. 4 levels of Torah interpretation. And typically, people think of them as siloed. So if I'm studying something on a basic level, that's one thing. If I study it on a deeper level, that's another thing, different realities. But the truth is, Torah is a single unit, which means that every level of Torah interpretation automatically and must work with the other levels, which means that the Kabbalah, the spirit of whatever it is, whether it's a narrative or a mitzvah, has to also explain the basic mechanics of it as well, and vice versa. Everything works together. Sometimes we don't have enough depth of understanding, a depth of perspective to understand how that's possible. In other words, we see things as, well, this exists on this level, that exists on that level. And that leads to a situation where a person might say, oh, I can study Kabbalah just purely devoid or divorced from the actual Torah, whereas in truth, Kabbalah is nothing but the soul of Torah, which means that it's part and parcel of that reality. Hey, Yaakov, good morning. Boker. There you go. All right. So that's a quick overview of what we're going to do. So we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at some narratives, some stories. We're going to look at a mitzvah or two and look at it from a basic level, ask some questions, and then get into the Kabbalah of it and hopefully walk away with first of all, some mind-blowing ideas, but also powerful inspiration for the upcoming holiday. I want to begin with a holiday tradition on this holiday, for the upcoming holiday of Shavuot. Again, just to clarify. So it's a 2-day holiday here. Israel, 1. 2-day holiday in the diaspora. What they can accomplish in 1 day, we need 2 days. That's how it works. We need 2 days of 48 hours to get done. Hey, Matt, good to see you. To get done what they get done in 24, okay? So it starts, just to clarify, it starts Tuesday night. It goes until, again, here in the U.S. and outside of Israel, it goes until Thursday night. So Tuesday night to Thursday night. The holiday days are basically Wednesday and Thursday. But since the Jewish day begins at night, because why not? Right? So, and because, God said that there was evening, there was morning one day. So day starts at night by sunset. So the holiday starts sunset-ish, a little after sunset on Tuesday, and ends after Tzeit HaKochavim, after the stars come out on Thursday. So that's a bit of an overview. What do we do on the holiday? Again, I'm giving you some basics, and then we're going to go way deeper. All right, so this is just to get us on a rolling start. So what do we do in the holiday? So it's interesting because most of the Jewish holidays, all the Jewish holidays, have very specific holiday observances. So for example, on Passover, we all know you eat matzah and you have a Seder, very specific observances. On Sukkot, you build a sukkah and you eat in the sukkah and you entertain people in the sukkah and you shake the lulav and the esrog, right? You give a little shake and say a blessing on the branches and the stuff, the 4 kinds as it's called. Let's talk about Rosh Hashanah, another biblical holiday. You sound the shofar, the mitzvah day is shofar. The custom is the apples and honey, but the mitzvah is hearing the shofar. What else? Yom Kippur, it's a mitzvah to fast and to ask for forgiveness. What other biblical holidays am I missing? That might be, Shavuot, we'll get back there in a second. That's the one we're talking about. But typically, every holiday has an observance. Even the rabbinic holidays, Purim, you hear the Megillah, you have a feast, etc. On Hanukkah, you light the menorah. Every holiday has a mitzvah. The question is, what is the mitzvah associated with Shavuot? We're about to have a holiday this week, and everyone's wondering, what mitzvah do you do? What's the mitzvah? That's a custom. What's the mitzvah? Like, what do you do? What's the observance? What do you say?
Hear the 10 Commandments.
On Rosh Hashanah, you say a blessing over the mitzvah to hear the shofar. On Yom Kippur, you say a blessing for the atonement. On Passover, a blessing over the matzah. On Sukkot, a blessing over both the sukkah and the lulav and the esrog. There's no bracha on Shavuot. What bracha do we do? Dr. Max, did you want to?
Well, don't we hear the 10 Commandments read?
Oh, good. So we hear the 10 Commandments. We show up in synagogue on Wednesday morning, and we hear the 10 Commandments being read once again. That is an observance, but it's not a biblical mitzvah. The Torah says, eat matzah on Passover. The Torah says, build a sukkah. The Torah says, wave your lulav and esrog and pull them all together. The Torah, those are mitzvot. The fact that we listen to the 10 Commandments, and I'm not minimizing that, but it's not like the Torah says that is the mitzvah that you must listen to the 10 Commandments. Now we do it, and we consider that to be the mitzvah or a mitzvah, but it's not technically it's not one of the 613. And so it's a little bit strange that here we have a day that is not just a holiday, but it's the holiday in which we recall, more than recall, in which we commemorate the literal giving of the Torah at Sinai, which is the entire identity. Every other mitzvah, every other holiday is stated in this book. And we got this book on that day, and yet, what do we do on that day? I don't know. Whatever. We show up, we go to shul, we have dairy food, it's a custom. So it's a little bit interesting. It's a little bit strange, to be honest, that there's no biblical mitzvah. There's nothing to say a bracha over, right? Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, that you gave us your commandments and you commanded us to what on Shavuot? To do what?
Eat dairy.
I don't know. Eat dairy. I mean, like eat cheesecake, huh? No. There is a shechianu. Yes, there is a shechianu for the holiday. But what's the mitzvah of the day? Now, okay, so this is a question that's discussed in the commentaries. Obviously, it's a question that pokes you in the eyes. It's like you can't not see this question. It's like the obvious question. Every other holiday has an observance. Every mitzvah, like what's going on with this? So one answer, simple answer is that since it's so fundamental, what were you saying? Yeah. Oh, you said fundamental? Yeah. Oh, I may have picked up on that. So since it's so fundamental, it's almost like it's too big to have only one particular mitzvah. Does that make sense? It's like, it's so big, it's so broad, it's so essential, it's so fundamental, so foundational that you can't minimize it into one, sound the shofar on this day. Sound the shofar. It's the whole Torah. It's like, it's so big. Now, it's the source of everything. It's the foundation. So, and that's right, because if you don't have Torah, you have nothing. There's no Judaism without Torah. What do you have? You have a band of slaves that got free, and then what? I don't know. Parted in the desert for 40 years. You don't have. There's nothing. Judaism doesn't exist without a document, without a constitution. So,
but finishing the Torah is a big deal.
Say it again.
Finishing the Torah is a big part.
Which we don't do on Shavuot.
Right.
We do that on Simchat Torah. We do that on Sukkot. We finish the Torah. We don't even finish the Torah. We read the 10 Commandments, which is we consider that to be the reenactment, and we show up, and it's with reverence and with awe and all that wonderful stuff. But there's no particular mitzvah. And again, the answer what most say the answer is because it's so essential that to limit it to one particular mitzvah, to one flavor, would be to do it in injustice. However, yeah.
Celebratory.
I would say, good question. Let me just repeat it because it's a good question. Larry's question is, so why is it fundamental, so essential to like very identity of Judaism? So then why is it, of all the holidays, the least talked about? Who even knows about the holiday outside, right? Like, no one knows about this. I would say the answer, it's a great question. I'm not going to give you a satisfying answer. I think it's because it doesn't have a flashy observance to it. Doesn't have matzah. It doesn't, you're not selling anything in Costco for it. No, I'm serious. In Costco before the holiday, you're selling honey and honey cake. I'm serious, right? It doesn't, right? There's the PR team fell asleep on this. I don't know. There's no, right? No one can monetize, right? No one's monetizing Shavuot. If no one's monetizing, that means that no one is. No, by the way, it's not so cynical. If no one's monetizing, what it means is that no one is really marketing it. If no one's marketing it, it's not marketed. That's it. Correct. Right. I hope you enjoy your Torah. Like, what are you going to write? Hallmark, right? Like, that's the point. It's so big. It's so important. It's so essential. It's almost like you can't reduce it into like one thing. It's the whole thing. But because of that, it's almost too big to capture. And therefore, anyway, but the point is that it's not just a holiday, but it's such an important holiday. So that's how I want to begin. That being said, although there's no mitzvah, there's no signature mitzvah, there is a signature custom, and you mentioned the signature custom is eating dairy. Yeah. Or as we say, right. As we say milchiks, right? Eating dairy, eating let's see. What's the dairy meal? What would that?
Blintzes.
Good, Ray. Blintzes. Ray, I want some of your homemade blintzes. Sorry, what? Cheesecake, blintzes, ice cream, huh? Kreplach, lasagna, huh? Oh, we're gonna get there. Yes, we're gonna talk about that today. That's okay. So 1 second. Listen, I love talking about menus. This is getting everybody excited. This is good. So dairy, it's a custom, although typically, a su'udah, a typical Shabbat or holiday meal. Typically, we try to have meat or chicken, basar, vidagim, meat and fish. You don't have to, but typically that's what most menus will look like traditionally. Maybe some fish, but also some meat and some chicken or something like of the meat category, or we call fleshig. On Shavuot, we make a point to have dairy. The question is, why the dairy? Why the dairy? And now, before we get, I prepared, we have booklets. I'm going to pass out that'll be awkward. I'm going to pass around the booklets, clarify. And so much cheesecake. Boom. So we're going to pass around the booklets. I do want to say this, that many have the tradition, Jewish communities around the world, to have dairy on this holiday, as opposed to Shabbat, as opposed to other holidays. This holiday, specifically dairy, there is a custom among some. Chabad also has this custom, and others do as well. It's not as widespread, but some have the custom to have both a dairy meal, and then followed by, you wait a little while, and then you have a meat meal. Double. Why? Because meat is, you have meat anyway, you don't have meat anyway, because meat is what you typically have, but you want to have a dairy meal. So you have your dairy meal, and then you wait. So our custom is Chabad is to wait an hour. You wait an hour, and then you have another meal. Also because, why not? You're not doing another mitzvah anyway. Like, what do you have to hear the shofar? What are you doing? Like, you make some food. All right, so here's what I want to do. Let's pass this around. Listen, a lot of questions are coming up. I could see it. And a lot of them will be answered in this conversation. Beverly, thank you. Actually, I'll leave one. Yeah, leave one for him. Let's pass this around. There we go. This is yours. Toba, please take and pass. And I'm going to put this up on the screen. Okay, I will tell you this. We have a ton to get. Yeah, jump in. Yeah.
Doing dairy is not to remind God of the Torah, the golden calf.
Interesting.
And thirdly, we have Yisker on Shavuot. So it's like, see your Zion, it's like all the foods are there to see.
Interesting. I believe. Wait, run through them quickly one more time. Sorry, very quickly. The Yiskar, we have the Yiskar. Correct. All the souls are there. 100%.
Remembering them, so everybody's there to get to hear the 10 Commandments and get the Torah. So
Hey, good morning.
So you've got dairy, you don't want to remind God of the golden calf.
Right, right. Although calf also has dairy calves as well. Yes, that was her first question. Yes, there were sacrifices on that day. Correct. So there were sacrifices that were specific for Shavuot. Today, of course, we don't have the sacrifice, we have prayers, but still the question is no signature mitzvah. Instead, we have this this dairy situation. What's the deal with the dairy? So I want to give a very quick note. There is an absolute ton of information to get to. I'm going to try to guide everyone through this in a way that makes sense. We are going to go deep into some ideas. It's going to be deep, but it's also going to be halachic. We're also going to get technical. So this is a combination of both Jewish legal technical conversation as well as mystical. So it's and narrative as well. So we're bringing together a lot of pieces. So I encourage everybody to halt cup, which means I know it's Sunday morning, but stay with me. Let's jump in. I'm going to put up the handout on the Zoom screen, and let's begin. I'm going to read these sources. The first source comes from Mishnah Berurah, and he addresses the question, why is it that we're eating dairy on Shavuot? What's the deal with the dairy? What Manishtana? Why is this holiday different than other holidays? I once heard a good reason. You guys with me? Top source. One. I once heard a good reason in the name of a great scholar. He doesn't name the scholar, keeps it anonymous, for why we eat dairy on Shavuos. After the Jews received the Torah at Sinai and returned to their homes, I'm sure they didn't have homes. I'm sure they had tents, nonetheless, right? They were not able to eat anything else other than dairy. Why? For they had just received the laws of kosher, and now they now needed special knives and vessels to slaughter, cook, cleanse, and salt meat in order for it to be kosher. And they did not yet have these utensils available. Why? For their old kitchenware was not kosher. Therefore, they all chose to eat dairy, and we do the same on Shavuos to commemorate this. In other words, on a very simple, basic level, right? We're starting off on a basic level. On a basic level, the reason why we eat dairy on Shavuos is to mimic the original menu that happened on this day 3,336 years ago. They could not eat meat. Why? Because they just got the laws of kosher that day. And when you have the laws of kosher, suddenly you have to prepare meat in a very specific way, a specific way of slaughtering, a specific way of taking the blood out, salting and rinsing and soaking, etc. It takes time. They didn't have the right supplies. The supplies that they had wouldn't be kosher. So what could they eat? I don't know, vegetarian and dairy. That's all they could have. So to mimic the original menu, we have because you don't have to prepare anything to have dairy. Just milk a cow and you're good to go. And so thus they had dairy. We have dairy. Oh, interesting. The manna that they had, good question. They had, no, so it could taste like anything. What do you say? It's like tofu. Exactly. It's like tofu. It could taste like anything. Along with that, they also had other food. They also had, food aside from the heavenly food. They took out a lot of animals on the way out of Egypt, They could not have any meat that day. They could only have dairy. This is what the Mishnah Berurah, a very solid source of Jewish legal exposition. The Mishnah Berurah writes, a good reason for this, and it makes a lot of sense, is that it mimics the original menu. Fantastic, good. But I want to look at here that today we're going to look deeper. We're going to look at the Kabbalistic reasons. So if somebody asks you, or if you're wondering why dairy, the simple answer is, and this is the most accepted answer, that if most people will tell you, most rabbis will tell you, say, hey, why are we eating? What's the custom with dairy? Most will tell you, you know why? Because they didn't have, when they got the Torah, they got the laws of kosher. To make kosher meat, to prepare that is very complicated, and it would require some days of preparation to get that going. Thus, they only ate dairy that day, and we do the same.
And they
That's
had
the
to wait for the flamethrowers to be invented,
obviously.
the cost of the kitchen.
Right, exactly.
And that took
Right.
a while.
That took a while. It wouldn't be till years later that they got that kitchen kosher with the flamethrower. Now, but we want to go deeper. And in order to go deeper, we're going to go back to a fairly well-known story, the story of Abraham and the angels. Now, let me explain the story. Let's give a little bit of background on this. So famously, we know that Abraham was a guy who discovers God at the ripe old age. Well, there's different versions of the story. Some say he discovered God at 3. Some say he discovered God at 40. Some say he discovered God somewhere in between. Sounds like he discovered God slowly along the way, different stages. Either way, Abraham, Avram Avinu, right, the first of our patriarchs, Abraham, the first Jew, right, the dude. So at the age of 99, God tells him, I need you to do one more mitzvah for me. Have a bris milah, have a circumcision. 99 years old, this was no small feat. Nonetheless, he does it. And the Torah says that as a result of that, he's in a lot of pain, but he was also a very hospitable guy, which means that they had a tent, him and his wife, Sarah, they had a tent that was always open from all sides to travelers. They used to bring people in, give them some food, and teach them about monotheism. That's how they got the whole monotheism thing rocking and rolling through food. Kind of like Chabad. Just saying, right? Feed him, give him food, and throw some inspiration. Can't hurt. Meanwhile, that day, so it was the third day after his circumcision, the day the Torah says that the pain was at its worst, and it was a very hot day outside. He's sitting outside, he's looking for passersby, and 3 men approach. Now, the way all the commentaries and even the verses themselves indicate that these were not men, these were angels in the guise of men. These were angels that looked like men that came to visit and to bless, to heal him, to bless his wife with a child. She had Isaac less than a year later, and to destroy Sodom and Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, that was something else. So 3 angels come and show up on his doorstep. The first thing the Torah tells us Abraham does, he springs into action. Let's read this from the original biblical text. This is no commentaries here. This is straight up from the book of Genesis. And he lifted his eyes. This is Abraham is the subject that we're referring to here. And Abraham, lifted his eyes and saw. And behold, 3 men were standing beside him. And he saw and he ran toward them. Yeah, ouch. And from the entrance of the tent, and he prostrated himself to the ground. He like bowed down in reverence to his new guests. And he said, my lords, if only I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass on from beside your servant. In other words, don't keep on going. Stay here. Come on in. Please let a little water be taken and bathe your feet and recline under a tree. Abraham, just so you know, is the prototype, the archetype of what we call hachnasat archim, tinvayk esen, to be hospitable, to be welcoming. Chesed, kindness, says that as long as Abraham was alive and doing his thing, the angel of kindness is like, I don't have any job. He does, this guy, he's all kindness. It's like, it's euphemistic, but it's expressing the idea that Avram Avinu, Abraham, our forefather, you could see it here. He embodied this idea of kindness and hospitality. Let's continue. And he continues, and he gives them the menu, and I will take a morsel of bread and sustain your hearts. Afterwards you shall pass on, because you have passed by your servant. And they said, sure, so shall you do as you have spoken. In other words, yes, we agree to be taken care of by you. That's a hard yes, right? Come on in. Y'all look tired. Take a rest. Kick off your sandals, right? I will wash your feet and feed you. Sure. Let's continue. And Abraham, now, hold on. Lest you think it was a one-man operation. I mean, this is a bed and breakfast over here. This is a 2-person operation. And Abraham hastened to the tent to Sarah, his wife, And he said, hasten 3 saw of meal and fine flour, knead and make cakes. Listen, you go to restaurants, sometimes they pull stuff out, they heat it up for you. This is scratch. This is from scratch. It's like we're making bread. Get the flour made to order, right? Farm to table, desert to table, whatever it is. That's it. And to the cattle did Abraham run. So he asked his wife to do the baking, and he was going to do the grilling, right? I mean, it's sometimes like that, depending on how you divide duties. And to the cattle did Abraham run, and he took a calf, tender and good, and he gave it to the youth. Who's the youth? Some say it was Ishmael, his son with Hagar. He gave it to the youth, and he hastened to prepare it. And he took cream and milk and the calf that he had prepared, and he placed them before them, and he was standing over them under the tree, and they ate. So he gave them this meal, and what was the meal? What was the meal, my friends? a cheeseburger and a cappuccino.
Good filet.
That's what he gave them. Unbelievable. A cheeseburger and a cappuccino. We have here caramel macchiato. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't drink coffee. Macchiato. Great. He gave them, look at the menu. Cream and milk and the calf. And he gave it to them. And they ate.
But he didn't say what.
1 second. Hold on. 1 second. Good. That's going to come into play soon. Hold on. You got, no, listen, it's, hold on. Now, at first glance, it seems like Abraham gave them a meal that would be later banned by the Torah. Now, the easy thing to say that what Torah wasn't given. I mean, this is way before Sinai. I mean, we're talking about between Abraham and Sinai is about 400 years. So this is 400 years pre-Sinai. So the simple thing is to say, yeah, he gave it to, first of all, what's the problem with giving it to them? It's not like they were monotheistic or Jewish at that point. Number two, it's not like even he was bound by the Torah. However, it does say that Abraham abided by Torah law even before it was given. We do have that tradition, whatever that means. And we also have an understanding that when the Torah says not to mix meat and milk, it's not only about eating them together, it's even about cooking them together, and it's also even about deriving benefit from that mixture, which means that if you give it to someone else, like for example, if you have workers, right, that are doing a job for you and they're hungry and you get them so that it could technically be a problem if you're benefiting, if you're deriving hana'ah, benefit from that mixture, even if you're not eating it, even if you didn't make it. You didn't cook it together. You didn't eat it. You're not doing the eating, but you're deriving some sort of benefit from it because you're giving it to someone else, and now they're happy. So that helps you because whatever, you have to make them happy or you want to make them happy. So that's also problematic. So it would seem that this might run afoul of the law. Now, the truth is, yeah, because that's your benefit. You're benefiting from it. They're not, that's fine for them. It's not a problem. But you're the one, if they buy it, that's fine. If you pay them and they buy it, that's not you. But if you are providing, that means that they say thank you to you for giving them that, then that means that you're getting benefit. They're going to work harder now. You're getting a benefit. You're getting a pretty direct benefit from this mixture directly. You can't go to McDonald's and get them.
They order
it's okay. It's a good question. The answer might be no. There might be a way around it. It might be no. It would require a little bit of a breakdown of how the payment works. If you get them a gift card, let's say, could they conceptually get drinks? The answer is yes. Or a milkshake. The answer is yes. Doesn't have to. It's not about kosher or not kosher. Specifically about the meat and milk, right? Specifically about that mixture. So if you get them a gift card and they use it for that, that's not you. That's them because they could have got something that wasn't. But I don't want to get bogged down in this. It's a more elaborate conversation. Yeah.
What about if Abraham knew they were angels and they can't eat? Isn't it cruel to give angels food that they can't eat because it's like
so the angels then assumed human form, and so on some level they ate whatever that means. Now I will tell you that because of this, take a look at Right. They ate.
They consumed.
Somehow.
They disappeared.
They disappeared. I don't know. That's a good question. Take a look at, turn the page, please. Turn the page, please, to source 4. Okay? Because this came back to bite the angels. This came back against the angels 400 years later, right before Sinai, right before the giving of the Torah at Sinai. Says the Midrash, text number 4. You see that? Midrash Tillim in the middle of the page, or the next page? When Moses ascended to heaven to receive the tablets, the ministering angel said, Master of the universe, just yesterday the Jews worshipped idolatry, the golden calf, and as written in these tablets, you shall have no other gods besides me. The angels were saying, how could you give the Torah to these people? You know what they're doing? You know what they did yesterday? They served idols. They're not worthy of receiving your Torah. God replied to them, when you descended to visit Abraham, did you not eat meat and milk together? As it is written, he took cream and milk and the calf. Did he prepare any place before them and they ate? However, when a Jewish child returns home from school and his mother offers him bread, meat, and milk to eat, he will say to her, today my teacher taught me that it says in the Torah, you shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. The angel had no response, and at that exact moment, God told Moses, inscribe these words, the Torah, for yourself, because they have nothing to say. In other words, the angels tried to block Torah by saying the Jewish people aren't worthy, and God says to them, they're not worthy. Y'all are not worthy. Now, what's this last little dialogue? I got to show you text 5. Look at source 5. This is from the Torah itself, from Scripture itself, Exodus chapter 34. Here are 2 verses that follow back to back. Chapter 34, verses 26 and 27. Look at the juxtaposition of these 2 verses that seem to not have any connection, but we just explained the connection. The choice says the Torah in verse 26 of chapter 34 of Exodus, the choices of the first of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. Don't worry about that part. The last part of that verse says, you shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. Turn the page. Verse 27, the very next verse says, the Lord said to Moses, inscribe these words for yourself, for because of these words I have formed a covenant with you and with Israel. Says the Midrash, we just read it. What's the juxtaposition between these 2 verses? The first verse says, don't cook a kid in its mother's milk, i.e. don't mix meat and milk. The next verse says, God says to Moses, write these words down. Because of these words, I've made a covenant with you. Says the Midrash that this is the meaning of it. Because of the prohibition of meat and milk, and because the angels, when they came down with Abraham, violated that prohibition, because of that was what the green lit the whole giving of the Torah to the Jewish people, and that's what finally cemented the covenant between God and the people to giving them the Torah. In other words, the angels were trying to block it. The angels were saying, no, the Jewish people don't deserve it. God says, meat and milk. Yeah, nice try. Get out of here, guys. Boom. And then thus, now Torah is delivered. Yeah.
Isn't that what wrong with such a not actually very good?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Set him up. Talk about playing the long game. This is 4D chess. 400 years prior, he sets him up with this meal. They could have said no. They could have said, no, thank you. We're only going to have one part, not the other part. They totally hook, line, and sinker, set up by Abraham, our patriarch. That's why he's the dude. Set up the angels to fall, and thus when they come around and later on say, hey, it's the Jews aren't deserving, God says, y'all are not deserving. I don't know if it's the intention, but the way you put all the stories together, you put the narrative together, it kind of follows that that's what's going on.
But if they have no freedom of choice, could they say no to a human? I know they can't say no to God.
They probably could have said no. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Apparently. Now take a look at text 3. We skipped text 3. Let's go back to text 3. Okay, go back to text 3. This is what the Tosafos say. Das Zakenim Balei Tosafot. Look at what he says. Look what they say. He, Abraham, took cream, milk, and the meat that he had prepared. This teaches us that he fed the meat and milk together. Says the Tosafist. These are typically the commentaries on the Talmud, but they also have a commentary on the Torah also, the grandsons of Rashi. So they say, look, this teaches us, the verse teaches us that he fed them, he, Abraham, fed them, the angels, meat and milk together. When God wanted to give Israel the Torah, the angels objected, saying, give your glory, i.e. the Torah, to the heavens. God then rebuffed them, the angels, saying, it is written in the Torah that one may not eat meat cooked in milk. And yet, when you descended to visit Abraham, you ate meat and milk, as is written. He took cream, milk, and the meat, etc. Immediately, the angels acquiesced to God. This is what is meant in Parashat Kisisa, quoted below, which you just read, because of these words I have formed the covenant with you and with Israel. These words refer to the words written immediately prior. You shall not cook a kid in its mother's milk. In others, what the clincher for Torah being given to human beings is because don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. The angels violated that. God says, nice try. Your filibuster has been filibustered or busted, and thus Torah is given below. Yeah.
So, okay, so there's a comparison here between Aaron and Nachash. So the Nachash sets up man in the fall. So that's the Nachash gets up, is gonna set up man in the fall. Aaron.
Just to translate, Nachash is the serpent. You're talking about Adam and Eve.
It would say, oh, the tree, so nice, and and then, so, and Abraham is a similar, modus operandi, but for the opposite.
For good.
Yeah.
Not for nefarious purposes. Yeah. The snake, let me just repeat it. So the serpent sets up Adam and Eve to fall, which was negative. Abraham ultimately sets up the angels to fall for our positive, for an uplifting thing. Now, the question, so this is a great narrative. Now, this is a, wow, what a Dvar Torah. What a like a 400-year, you put stories together, narratives together. So the angels are saying humans are not worthy, or specifically the Jewish people are not worthy. They were slaves. They were idolatrous. They had served idols in Egypt. They had assimilated into Egyptian culture. So thus they don't deserve of Torah. And God says to them, aha, what about the meat and milk? You guys get out of the way, and clears the path for Torah to be delivered. What a beautiful story. The problem is, and you guys caught it. You guys caught it. The Medrash says it's a problem. The angels got busted. Tosafos say that the angels got busted. And yet you and I say, what was the problem? If you look at the order of the verses, if you look at the order of the order of the menu, if you look specifically at how the menu unfolds, again, let me reference text 2. We're going back to text 2. Verse 8, he took cream and milk and then the calf that he had prepared. In other words, first he had the milchiks, the dairy, gave them the dairy, and then he gave them the meat. And we know with Jewish law that the issue with mixing meat and milk, well, number one, it's if you have them together. But number two, it's if you have first meat and then milk. But if you have first milk and then meat, it's not so problematic. Let's see this in the source.
And the rabbis weren't even born yet. So according to the Torah, you can eat milk with meat. You just can't cook milk with meat.
No, it says it 3 times. The
So
Torah says it 3.
cook it.
Correct. The Torah says the same mitzvah, the same words 3 times.
Right.
From there, we derive 1 time for cooking, 1 time for eating, and 1 time for deriving benefit. Now, take a look at text number 6, what I just said, but let's see it inside. Text 6, Code of Jewish Law. This is like the code. By the way, I love the fact that Jews study the Code of Jewish Law, like regularly. I don't know when any Georgia citizen studied the Georgia
Institution.
statutes. Ordinance 101A says, seriously, it's different. We live with this law. All right, 6, Code of Jewish Law. Number 1, chapter 89. If one first ate meat, he cannot subsequently eat cheese until he waits 6 hours. And even if he waited the proper amount of time, if he still has meat stuck between his teeth, he must first remove it. However, after one eats cheese, he can immediately eat meat as long as he checks to ensure that there is no cheese still stuck to them, to his teeth, and he cleans and rinses his mouth. There is a fundamental difference between, if you're not eating them together, but back to back, there's a difference as to which one you eat first. If you eat meat first, now it's more problematic. Now, you, first of all, in all cases, you have to make sure that the previous item is not stuck to your teeth to then mix in with the next one. Because if that's happening, then that's a problem, because now you're mixing meat and milk. Even if it's hours later, they're still mixing together, right? That's one thing. But aside from that, when it comes to meat, fleishiks, when it comes to meat, halacha says, Code of Jerusalem says, you wait 6 hours. 6 hours after meat to ensure that you digest the meat fully and properly. Now, some have a custom to wait less than 6 hours, but this is one opinion, and this is the most strict opinion, but we're just citing this one for ease of conversation. 6 hours after meat until milk, in order to allow the meat to be processed, digested, and now you have a clean slate. Now you can introduce dairy. Whereas when you eat dairy, cheese, milk, etc., all you need to do is make sure nothing is stuck to your teeth, rinse out your mouth, good to go. Some wait a half an hour, some wait an hour. Chabad Many wait an hour in between, but really, technically, you can eat it immediately. Now, if you look at the order, give me 1 second. If you look at the order back and how Abraham served the meal, it says, Vayikach eschema v'chalav ve'es habakar she'asa. It says he gave them the chema, the cream, and the chalav and the milk, and the bakar, and the calf that he had prepared. Which means that if, and we had a few people that mentioned this before, which means that the order of the meal as it unfolded was first the dairy, and then the meat, which means he did nothing wrong. I already told you we do that on Shavuot. We have a dairy meal, right? We have a dairy meal and then a meat meal. No violation of the law. Just make sure you rinse out your mouth. Make sure that nothing stuck your teeth. And it says he gave him the chema and the chalav, the dairy stuff, and the bakar asher asa that he had prepared. That may also imply that it took a little while because the dairy was probably ready before the calf. That takes a longer time to prepare. So probably like a restaurant, they bring out the food kind of, in different stages, different courses. He first had the dairy course and then the meat course. If that's the case, then Abraham did nothing wrong. The angels did nothing wrong. And if they didn't do anything wrong, now we're in trouble. Because why do we get the Torah? You with me on that? The whole reason we got the Torah is because the angels tried to block it and got blocked. How dare you block it? You guys are violators of the law. Turns out they didn't violate anything. First they had a dairy meal or dairy, and then they had meat. You with me on the question?
What's the issue say?
1 second, 1 second. Hold on. Now I want to look at this. Wait. Okay, no, we're good. Yes, jump in.
What's the issue saying? Oh, you gotta, according to the issue, there's,
I have another question. Good, along those lines. So first of all, God says to them, y'all violated the law, get out of here. So question number one is they never violated the law. Abraham didn't violate the law in giving them the meal. They didn't violate it in eating it. They first had, look at there's no reason to believe that they ate the meal in any other than the order that it's mentioned in the actual verse. The verse says he gave them chema and chalav and the bakar and the calf that he had made. It's if you read the verses, dairy and meat, and that is not a problem. So first of all, why is God saying it's a problem? Second of all, and this is maybe even a stronger question, what kind of argument is that? Someone raised a valid point and you say, how dare you? You have your own problems. That's an ad hominem attack, I think is what it's called, right? Where you attack the character of the one raising the issue instead of addressing the problem, right? You're avoiding the question. The angel is saying the Jewish people are a bunch of idolaters. They didn't stay faithful to you. How can you give them the Torah, your greatest gift, your greatest wisdom, the greatest secrets of your mind and your will? Why would you give it to this people that are so broken and flawed and idolatrous? And God says to them, "Oh, look who's talking." Really? That's like playground stuff. That's what God says. God says, "Look who's talking." That was also a movie, right? Look who's talking too, huh? Righteousness.
Of the Jewish people.
Yeah, you didn't address the issue. So they're like, Jews served idols. Yeah, but you guys ate meat and milk. First of all, they didn't violate anything, number one. Number two, and God should have known that, right? Because you would think that God would know Jewish law, Torah law. And number two, what kind of argument is that? Like, nah. Like you also did something wrong. Like, what is that? Like, oh, you can't, like I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Like, what is actually happening here? We're not, yeah, jump in.
Regardless of all our interpretations, definitions, trying to make it work. It's in the Torah, that's what God said. Period. You don't have to justify.
Okay, but it still seems a little strange. Oh, that's another good. Why didn't the angels defend themselves? Why were they shocked into silence? Didn't they know the law? So here's what I want to get into. This is going to be absolutely, I'm getting goosebumps already. This is going to be magical. It's going to be a little technical. So please stay with me on this. If you don't, if it's not making sense, just stop me and ask me to clarify. I want to make sure that everyone gets this. So there's going to be a few steps to this. So step number one is like this. We need to look at this entire story from a mystical perspective. And the way we're going to do this is by understanding what is the Kabbalah of meat And what is the Kabbalah of milk? And you might be thinking, who says there is even a Kabbalah of meat and milk? Why should there be a Kabbalah of food? There is. What I mean is, what is the spiritual energy of meat and the spiritual energy of dairy? Now we know, when it comes to the Sefirot or the Midot, we know that there's 3 intellectual powers, Chachma, Bina, and Dat, and 7 emotional powers, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod Yesod, and Malchut. Now, the first 2 primary of the Midot, of the emotions, are Chesed and Gevurah. We've talked about Chesed and Gevurah many, many times. At its core, at their core, Chesed means love, kindness, giving, generosity, a flow of energy from within to without. It's moving outside without the not without the person, but outside the person to the other person. Love, kindness, connection, generosity, being a benefactor, etc. Gevura is a very different energy. Gevura is withholding. Gevura is strength. Gevura is discipline. Gevura is boundaries. Gevura is space. Gevura is stepping back. Chesed is leaning in. 2 different energies. One is getting closer. One is moving back. If you see something that you like, wow, you're in a museum, you see something that looks beautiful, beautiful art, you want to get closer to look at it, you love it. If you see the Grand Canyon and it's majestic and you're overwhelmed, you might take a step back and go, wow, right? There's just different energies. Chesed and Gevura. Kabbalah likens meat and milk to these 2 energies. Which one is which? Milk is, which one do you think? Milk is chesed. Why is milk chesed? First of all, colors. Kabbalah of colors. I don't know if we've ever discussed the Kabbalah of colors, which we should. I'm thinking we probably should discuss the Kabbalah of colors, because you can create your color palette based on spiritual energies. But in short, white is connected with chesed. Red is connected with Gevura. I mean, think about even in cartoon land, when you have the little 2 things on the shoulder, right? You have the angel and the devil, right? One is telling you good stuff. One is telling you, one is loving and one is strict and kind and harsh and judgmental and whatever. One is white, one is red. That's the way it is. Energy, colors and energies. So the color of chesed is white. Color of Gevura is red. Milk is white. Dairy is white. Dairy is chesed. Meat, red meat, is Gevura. Milk also is
Nurturing.
it's nurturing, it's giving, it's life-giving, right? It's nurturing. The more the recipient needs, the more the giver wants to give or gives or produces, etc. So it's about it's the entire reality, the entire essence, energy of dairy is about giving. It's chesed. Whereas meat, I don't know where we see this in meat, but meat is red, it's Gevura, it's toughish, it's harsh, etc. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. It's like the joke with the chicken and the pig. You know this one, right?
Yeah.
It's the famous one. The chicken and the pig. Huh? This is like an old school one. Oh, what? You guys know this one, huh? All right, I'll tell it. It's like the chicken and the pig are walking down the street together one day, and they walk by a breakfast joint, a non-kosher breakfast joint, and it's got in the window. It's advertised breakfast special, bacon and eggs. And the chicken says to the pig, "Look, we're famous, bacon and eggs. Everyone loves us." And the pig says to the chicken, "For you, it's a donation. For me, it's a commitment." Right, but that's what you're saying. Like meat, milk, and meat. Milk is a donation. Milk is a contribution. Whereas the meat, it's can't get the meat without until lab-grown beef. That's another conversation. Okay, so back to the story. Okay, so Kabbalah. So again, we're just laying out the energies. So meat, milk is chesed, and meat is gevura, which explains in general the idea. Oh, now both are necessary. Both are necessary. You need chesed. You also need gevura. You need to give in life. Generosity, giving, love, sharing love, relationships, all that's healthy. At the same time, you also need gevura. You also need boundaries. Right? You also need space. Give people space. Give yourself space. All that is good. Chesed and gevura are both necessary. But in your chesed, gevura, as you tweak those, the goal in life is that you should always lean to the side of chesed over gevura. Now, some people are more naturally gevura oriented. Some people are naturally chesed oriented. But if you're mixing the two, as it were, right, as it were, so the goal is always to go more chesed dominant because that's what creates a pleasant world, a loving world. Even when you have to discipline a child, right, you have to correct a child, you want it to come from, you want them to understand that it's coming from a place of love. I love you, therefore I'm disciplining. Like the foundation of love is very important. Now, take that idea. This is where it gets just a little bit tricky. Take that idea and hold it. Hold it and that makes sense. Easy concept. Ches, meat, milk, chesed, gevura, and always err on the side of chesed, milk. Great. Close that folder, put it to the side. There's a very interesting law when it comes to kosher. And that is, if dairy and meat items mix together, if you have a burger and a slice of cheese and they touch, what do? What do? So it depends. Depends if it's hot or cold. This is how it works. If both items are cold, okay, both, huh? No, it's not cooked together. If it's, you had a, oh, yeah. It's kosher meat and kosher cheese, and it's already cooked. Yeah. It's not, no, it's not raw. No. Yeah. So it's, let's say a cooked burger, and you happen to be walking through the kitchen holding a stack of cheese. Why? Who knows? Doesn't matter, right? No matter, you're throwing cheese, as one does, and it lands on a burger. Whoa! What happened? It's crazy. Cold burger. Cold. That burger is so cool under pressure. It's insane. So cold burger, cold cheese, ice cold. What do you? Oh no! Milk. It's touching. What do I do? Take it easy. Take it easy. Calm down.
Patty cold burger.
Pet. Not bad. What do? Easy peasy. First of all, you separate the two. You rinse it off, and you're good to go. Both. You're good to go. Why? No, don't do that on purpose. Do not do it on purpose. Do not try it at home. Correct. That's literally do not try it at home. If it happened, you didn't try it, it happened. You with me on this? Why? Because, hey guys, what a treat. Renato, welcome. Good to see you. Natan, welcome. All right, I hear myself. That's actually awesome. Guys, there is room. You guys want to move down and, yeah, come on in. Make yourself at home. Yeah, why don't you slide down one here? Natan, you can sit here. Or, yeah. All right. If I get any hard questions, they're going straight to you. Good to see you. I like the,
Thanks.
yeah. All right.
Trying to catch up on the
you-
and cheese on the burger.
Yeah. Oh,
That's it.
very good. Very good. Okay. So back to the burger.
His name is patty cheese, cold. That's it.
So here's the, I actually like that. So if it's cold, you just take them apart, right? Separate them, rinse them off. Your cheese did not melt into the burger. The burger did not, there was no heat involved, which means that the molecules did not do anything too crazy. They didn't mix, right? So just rinse it off. Obviously, if you see like there's meat impressed in the cheese somehow, cut that piece out. But otherwise, you can conceptually separate them and go on with your day, and each thing is kosher. Now, if both are hot, you got to throw the whole thing out. You have a hot burger and hot cheese, and they touch and they're melting, and that means they're intertwining. Again, on a molecular level, there's this intertwining, there's this admixture, right? It's taruvot, it's mixing together, and at that point, the whole situation, the whole mixture is not kosher. You got to throw it out. Again, you can't even sell it because that's benefiting from it. You can't eat it, obviously, and you didn't cook it on purpose, but it happened. Whatever, it fell in. So then you are out of the game. What if though? Because in good Talmudic logic, what are you going to ask? Those two are clear cut. If both are hot, no good. If both are cold, good. What's the obvious twist? Oh, what if one's hot and one's cold? Oh, right. Here we go. Now what do? One's hot, one's cold. Yes. Yes, it does. It does. And not only does it make a difference which one is hot, which one is cold, but there's a dispute about what difference it makes, which one is hot and which is cold. Not only is there a difference, but it's not even clear what the difference is. That's the brilliance of Jewish law. So again, stick with me. It's all going to come together. Just a little bit of patience. Stick with me. It's not about whether it's the meat or the milk. It's about which one was on bottom and which one was on top. Right? When something lands on something else, was the hot item on the bottom or the hot item on the top? Was it hot, cold, or cold, hot? You with me? Now you're wondering, well, which one is which? I already told you. It's a dispute about which one is which. One rabbi, I'm going to tell you outside, I'm going to read it inside. You'll see it for yourself. But hold on, not yet. One rabbi says, Ila agavar. One rabbi says, the definition, is this a hot mixture or a cold mixture? We know already how to move from there. Once we define it as hot or cold, we know what to do. Hot, the whole thing is out. Cold, it's okay. Do we define this hot, cold, or cold, hot as hot or cold? So one rabbi says, Ila agavar. You always look at the Ila, the Elyon, at the top, at the one on top. What is that one hot or is that cold? If that one's hot, the whole thing is hot, and now you got to throw it out. If that's cold, the whole thing is considered cold, and now it's good. That's one opinion. The other opinion is, you guessed it, the opposite. Tata agavar. These are Aramaic words. That the bottom is the dominant status, which means if the bottom is cold, it's cold. If the bottom is hot, it's hot. You with me on this? Let's read this inside. This is like, now, if you want to become a rabbi, by the way, and get smicha, this is one of the areas in which you study. Like the laws of meat and milk and taruvot, mixing things. And this is like classic smicha, classic rabbinic ordination stuff. So, welcome to my world. Now, take a look at text. I'll tell you which text this is. 7, the Talmud. There you go. That's a great source to study. The Talmud, Tractate Psachim, says the following. Look at this. If something hot, you guys with me? Verse 7. If something hot falls into something hot, all agree that both become prohibited. That's clear. Hot, hot, you're out. Cold into cold, all agree that both remain permissible. Rinse it off, you're good to go. However, hot into cold, or vice versa. Cold item falls into the hot one, so now you have one and one hot, one cold. So either hot's on top or cold's on top. So, two opinions. That's still not clear, right? Two opinions. Rav says, Ila agavar, the upper one always overpowers, which means that the status of the mixture, hot or cold, is always determined by the item on top. If the top item is hot, it's hot. If it's cold, it's cold. However, Shmuel says that the lower one always overpowers. Shmuel says you don't look at the one on top, but the one on bottom. If the one on bottom is hot, then it's hot. If it's cold, then it's cold. Yes, with me on this? Practically speaking. If you have, and cheese is not a good example because I feel like if either one is hot, it might melt, and then it's not a solid. Then it's a liquid, and then this doesn't apply. This is not talking about liquid. This is only talking about solid. Why is it not talking about liquid? Because even no matter which opinion you say, if you pour cold milk into a pot of chicken soup, there's no going back from that. This is only talking about a situation where you could conceptually separate the items. It's not liquid into liquid, you're out. So if the cheese falls on top of the meat, whichever one is hot or cold, if it's melted, you're finished. That's why cheese is not a great example. You have to come up with another type of dairy thing that wouldn't melt. I can't think of one, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, but that's right. But we're not talking about the ratio of 60. We're talking about, like, let's say it's 50-50. So the point is like this. Let's say, I can't think of an example, but let's just say it's milk, hard cheese, or actually maybe it's, let's say, a bread that was cooked with milk inside of it, but now it's a bread. There you go. There you go. Like a dairy bread. Perfect. Perfect. Oh, actually, that's a great example. You have a bun. Oh, you have a bun. Like a bun or bread that is a dairy bread. okay, and it's cold. And then you put a hot burger on top. And then you realize, oh no, I used the wrong bread. I used the wrong bread. Hot burger on top. So you put it on top of this, you put the hot burger on top of the bread. Right, or whatever. You take it off, and then it's got like the little crumbs on it, so you brush it off. Again, the liquid could go into the bread, so you have to. But is it out or is it in? Can you salvage it? So according to Rav, let's go through the opinions. Rav says it's the first opinion. Ilagav. You always go by the higher item, the top item. So since the top item in this case was the burger, and the burger was hot, the whole thing is hot. You got to throw out everything. You can't just cut off a little bit of the bottom of the burger or top of the bun and continue to eat it. We consider it to have made the entire mixture, in both items, fully, wall to wall, treif. No good, not kosher. Okay. But according to Shmuel, he says, Tata gavar, you always go by the bottom. The bottom, the bread is cold. Therefore, the whole mixture is rendered cold, is deemed cold. And thus, just cut off a little bit of the bottom of the burger, make sure that's clean, make sure the top of the bun is clean, and you're back in the game. Yeah, I mean, don't do it again. That would be awkward. But like you can now, yes, you with me on this?
Well, the last one makes sense because cold goes down and heat.
That's the machlok. The question is, which way does the heat travel? No, I understand that we say that heat goes up, but this is a halachic, that's the question. Now we have a deeper understanding of why it is what I said before, that if you eat dairy, you don't have to wait 6 hours. But if you eat first, you have to wait 6 hours. Remember I told you that when it comes to meat and milk? You know why? Oh, sorry, one more thing. I got to tell you before that. The halacha is like Shmuel, not like Rav. That's why it's underlined in the text 7, Surah 7, right? The halacha is like Shmuel. Tata agavar. The bottom one is what defines the status of the mixture. Therefore, when you eat food, listen to this, and you put food into your stomach. So the first item you put in is dairy. That's your foundation now. Dairy, we said before, Kabbalistically is what? Chesed. So you have a foundation of chesed. And then on top of that, you put meat, which is gevura. When you mix together chesed and gevura, but the overwhelming energy, because the bottom overwhelms the top, the overwhelming energy of that mixture is chesed, it's kosher. You with me? If you have discipline in a relationship, right? If you have boundaries in a relationship, but the fundamental approach in the relationship is love, if it's overwhelmingly love with a little bit of discipline, that's a kosher relationship. So you can eat first dairy and then meat. I'm giving you a mystical understanding of why it is you don't have to wait 6 hours when you have dairy first versus when you have meat first, as opposed to when you eat meat first. So now the foundation, the bottom, the foundation in your stomach, in your being, in your kishkas, right, is what? Is meat, which is gevura. And now you put chesed in. Oh, now it's a distortion. If your calculus is, I will only show you love as a setup, right, to impose more rules on you, then you're using love, chesed, right, as an accessory to gevura. That's not kosher. The other way around is, did I lose anyone here? You with me on this? Chesed and gevura. We should always err on the side of chesed, kindness. Yeah, we need gevura, sure, but chesed rules. So that's why if chesed is on the bottom and then you put gevura on top, milk first and then meat, it's fine. But if you go the other way around, if you're angry, if you have gevura, and then you want to compliment, but you're only complimenting so that you can criticize again, that's not kosher. That's not kosher. You have to wait 6 hours until you digest those harsh feelings, digest the gevura, get it through your system, and then you can come as a mensch with your chesed again. You with me on this? Yes? You have to, yes? Yes. Okay, now. And the angels ate milk first, and then meat. It seems like it was kosher.
What about there's more meat than milk?
Wait, hold on one second. No, hold on. I got to stick on this train. Sorry, this is the express right now. You know why the halacha is that tata gavar? Why we paskin like Shmuel? Why we rule like Shmuel? That the mixture always goes by what's on bottom? Because in the struggle between heaven and earth as to who gets the Torah, you know who won? We won. That's why reality reflects this spiritual cosmology. Just like in the struggle over Torah, who gets Torah, angels or humans, we won. That means that earth prevailed over heaven. So that's why in halakha, in Jewish law, and even in nature, we say that tata gavar, that when you have a top and a bottom, that the bottom is always defining the nature of the relationship, right? The bottom layer, when it comes to the meat and the hot, which one's hot, which one's cold, you always go by, again, we rule not like Rav, but we rule like Shmuel, because in the struggle between heaven and earth prevails. And that's why when you eat milk first, that's why that defines the what's to follow. And so if you put a little gevura, a little meat inside, it's not so terrible. Whereas vice versa, if you first have the meat, the gevura, and then you put in the chesed, that's distorting the chesed to be like gevura. You have to wait till that's digested. Yes? What did the angels want? What was their intention? Ilah agavar.
Right.
The angels wanted to say that heaven rules over earth. They were like Rav. They were saying Ilah gavar. Says God to the angels, if it's like what you say, that you go by the top, what did you eat first? Milk. And then you ate meat. If the reality follows what your intention is, then you violated the law. Because you first had milk and then you had meat on top. And if reality follows, I feel like I just lost everybody. So let me backtrack. This was the big flourish, but let me just backtrack for half a second. Milk is chesed, meat is gevura. We have this interesting anomaly of the law where if you eat one first, it's fine. If you eat the other one first, it's not fine. You have to wait 6 hours. We explained this Kabbalistically, that since the law is that when you have a mixture, it's always defined on the bottom layer. So when you put in the milk first, and then you put in the meat, you have your chesed, and then your gevura, that's fine. It's fine if it's that way. But if it's flipped, if first there's gevura and then there's chesed, that's not good. But when is this so? That's only if you say the ruling is that you go by the bottom. And that's only if the Torah is given to us. But the angels wanted a different reality. The angels were petitioning God to say, not tata gavar, ilah gavar. The angels went to God and said, God, keep tenahodcha ala shamayim. Keep your Torah in the heavens, which means that they were saying that we believe that when you have a struggle between top and bottom, when there's a dissonance between top and bottom, we believe, said the angels, that the top should prevail. God says, really? The top should prevail? Well, then look back at your meal. When you came down to Abraham, what did you have? First milk and then meat? That means gevura was dominant? That means that you guys violated the law. The law is the fact that what you ate is kosher is only if you say that you go by the bottom. That means that you yourself acquiesced. You yourself, through your own actions, indicated that you believe that Torah should be given below, that the below should be stronger than the top. Because if the world follows your structure, i.e., if reality follows your plan, that the higher level, that what's on top prevails, then you first ate milk, and then you had meat, which means that your meat was dominant and you distorted chesed, and that is not kosher. And so God is not offering an ad hominem attack on the character of the angels. He's not attacking the messenger. What he's saying is essentially, you yourselves, when you came down to earth, you yourselves behaved in a way that demonstrated your belief that tata gavar, that the bottom prevails. Earth. No. We're linking bottom with earth and top with heaven. And we're saying that practically, what did the angels eat? Just use a mouse and a phone, because why not? It's what I have. Visuals, right? This is it. They first ate dairy, and then they first ate chema v'chalav, ve'et habakar asher asa, right? They first ate the milk and the cream and the milk. And then 1 second, right for us, not for them. And then they had the meat. The only way that's kosher is because we rule like Shmuel that says tata gavar. Why do we rule like Shmuel tata gavar? Because Torah was given below. What did the angels wish to say? The angels wish to say that Torah should be given in heaven, which means that their perspective was ilagavar. The top should always be dominant. If the top is dominant, then you know what happened? You know what the angels did? They ate. They broke the rules because they had more gevura than chesed, ilagavar. So God says, through your own actions, you demonstrated that tatagavar. Otherwise, you yourselves broke the law. It wasn't an attack on the character of the angels. It was simply to say that by your actions, the only way what you ate was kosher is if indeed the ruling is that mixtures go by the bottom, which means tatagavar, which means that that earth prevails. Shortly before the Torah was given. 3,000, maybe today, 3,336 years ago. Oh, no, that was later. Yeah. Oh, that machlokah was later. But the halacha is tatagavar. You go by the bottom. You go by the bottom because in the cosmic schematic, earth prevailed over heaven. But the angels were petitioning that heaven should prevail over earth, which means, again, that you always look at the top. Well, if you first eat dairy and then you eat milk, sorry, that's redundant. If first you eat dairy and then you eat meat, well, then that's distorting the energy of chesed because you're overwhelming your chesed with gevura. That's not kosher. And that's what the angels did. And so God says to the angels, one second, hold on. You want to switch halacha? You want to switch the way things work? You want to put the top over the bottom? Well, then I think you all did something wrong. And by your own actions, you demonstrated the fact that you first ate dairy and then you ate meat. The only way that's kosher is if you acknowledge, if you concede that indeed the bottom is the primary force.
So if the angels prevail, no one would stay in the heavens, and we would never have, earth would be chaos.
Also, that would be another collateral damage of that. Correct. That would not be fun. They said
that we just did that because we didn't want to insult our hosts, and this shows how deceitful and devious humans are. Because they're trying to trick us, like they always do, because they're not honest people.
Or, yeah, true. Or you could say that, look, when push came to shove and it came to eating, y'all first put in the chesed and then the gevura. Seems like you're saying that whatever you put in, whatever is on the bottom is the more dominant one. I think that's what Moses is trying to get, the Torah below. So how can you really block that if you yourselves behaved in that way? They could have said, yeah, well, we operated within that paradigm when we came down to earth. Yeah, you can have any sort of argument. But that's, again, this is the way Kabbalah understands so many things. First of all, the energies of meat and milk. The reason not to mix meat and milk, because you don't want to mix the energies. The reason why when you first have milk and then meat, it's fine, whereas meat first, then milk, it's not fine. The reason why there's a machloket, a dispute between Rav and Shmuel about ilah gavar tatagavar, whether you go by the top or the bottom. The reason why that's connected with the struggle between heaven and earth, between the angels and the Jewish people about who should get the Torah. And the reason why ultimately God uses the historical story of the angel visiting Abraham as a reason, as the catalyst to say, no, indeed, the Torah should be given below, because you yourselves demonstrated the only way what you ate was kosher, the only way that was fine, allowed, is if you posit that what you ate first matters most. If you posit that what's on the bottom is more important than the top. And God says, touche, through your own actions, touche, my friends. You yourself demonstrated that tatagavar, Torah should be given below. And thus the Torah was given on Sinai. And so, my friends, this was the cappuccino, the cheeseburger that changed history. This is the Kabbalah of Cheeseburgers. Now we know, again, I think I just went through the whole 6 points that we learned today. It's actually mind-bending. I know we had to go through it a little bit quickly at the end, and the end was like the major piece of it. Happy to stay and if anyone has questions and address the questions. But really what I think, there's a few strong takeaways. Number one, we have to realize that the centrality of our mission, of the centrality of us in the cosmic scheme. Sometimes in some religions and some philosophies have it that the purpose of everything is to escape. The purpose of everything is, angels are greater than humans and souls are greater than souls and bodies. And, the purpose is to kind of meditate and levitate, and not actually levitate, but like meditate and get outside of our tethered existence. Whereas Kabbalah, Judaism says, no. The tachlis, the ikar, the gavar is right here, tata gavar. The Torah was given below. God wants us to act like a mensch. And the truth is, what you said a moment ago, someone said a moment ago, I don't remember who said it, But couldn't the angels say that, look, humans are treacherous? Oh, you said this, Yaakov, right? That is actually the reason to give us the Torah, because Torah was meant to make an impact in the lowest realms. Torah is meant not to remain in heaven, but Torah was meant to impact a physical body, a physical world, a frail body, a frail world, flawed and frail and imperfect. And Torah was meant to create, to inject tikkun, correction, in a place of incorrection. For Torah, for perfection, to remain in a realm of perfection, so then what's the point? It's like there's nothing was accomplished. Torah to go below, and that is what, according to another tradition, that's what Moses answers the angels. There's another tradition in this whole dialogue where God says to Moses, you answer them. And Moses says, what does the Torah say? What did the Ten Commandments say? Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery. What? Y'all have that temptation? Y'all have that desire? When was the last time you angels struggle with this? So what do you need the Torah for? The Torah literally speaks to human frailty. The Torah literally speaks to our vices, right? To our challenges. And so as we get ready for Shavuot, I think the primary message that I try to convey today is Tata Gavar, is the fact that Torah was designed for us, designed in Cupertino. Kidding. Designed, says Apple, designed right here. Not designed right here, but designed for right here. God designs Torah to impact our lives. And we should not take it for granted. We should say every morning, as we say in the preamble to the prayers, Ashreinu ma tov chalkenu. How fortunate are we in our portion? We have this incredible fortune to have a Torah. Think about for how many years, how many people wandered this earth without the possibility of divine direction. And we have that. We have a document. We have this divine constitution that tells us what it means to live a good and godly life. That is an incredible gift. Otherwise, left to our own devices, what will we come up with? Who knows? Cannibalism. I mean, barbarians. I mean, think about what civilizations look like. And the fact that civilization, by and large, is civilized in any way is due in no small part to Torah's influence, even on the broader world. It's clear that some of the greatest advancements in humanity are driven and inspired by the Jewish Bible. And so, number one, we're about to come to the holiday of Shavuot. Let us appreciate the gift that we got. There might not be a mitzvah. You might not be listening to a shofar or eating matzah, but we're getting the Torah, and that's a big deal. Number one. And number two, on point with the Chesed and Gvura, the idea that we should always lead with love, lead with kindness, lead with empathy, lead with understanding. Yes, there needs to be Gvura, there needs to be balance, there needs to be the idea of discipline and space and rules and regulations. All that needs to be. But we should never lead with the harshness. We should always lead with love. And when we lead with love, then everything else will follow. Thank you very much for joining me today for the Kabbalah of Cheeseburgers. And now it's time for lunch. Kidding. A kosher lunch. Thank you very much for joining. I hope it made sense. I know it kind of had the last piece of it is the trickiest part, but quick announcement, or not quick announcement. Very important announcement. Tuesday night, Leil Shavuot, the first night of Shavuot, we have an all-night learning program. Well, I don't know if it's all night, but we have a night learning program. It's Jewish tradition to stay up at night and study Torah. So we have, as we do every year, TED Torah Talks, which are a series of talks, individuals from the community and rabbis as well, sharing 10-minute power talks on various topics, personal stories, inspirational vignettes, as well as Torah insights. This year, for the first time, I don't have the flyer yet. It's going to go to an email tomorrow. We are following the TED Talks with Crossfire. First time ever. What is a Crossfire? I know what you're wondering. It's a panel. It's a panel of us. I'm kidding. Like us. Imagine this, right? 3 good people, right? Sitting at a table, answering some of the most interesting, compelling, and difficult questions, 60 seconds to answer. 30 questions, 60 seconds, Crossfire. It's a lot of fun. It's highly entertaining. It's highly engaging. Really great questions. And that's happening. So we're modifying the times. TED Torah Talks are going to be from 11:30 to 1, and then 1 to 1:30 or 2, depending on how much fun we have with the questions, will be the Crossfire. So come at 11:30 or later and enjoy and stay for as long as you wish. No pressure. Stay for as long or as short as you wish. It's going to be a lot of fun and entertaining and enjoyable and inspirational. Huh?
Who's on the panel?
Tomorrow we're revealing the names. This is the tease. Are you kidding me? What? You think Apple, Cupertino, you think Apple's like, oh, yeah, we have an iPhone and here's what it looks like. No, they're like, come to the event. We're going to reveal it. Oh, and one more thing. Boom, Steve Jobs comes back from the other side. Good to see you guys. So, I mean, this is, yeah, tomorrow the names will be dropped. Yeah. Tomorrow, the all-star list gets dropped.
So I know this is a whole class, but the lower world overpower the upper world.
Yes, by divine design. Not overpower, but the tachlit, hakavana, the purpose is this right here. The purpose is not, God didn't create earth to have heaven. He created created heaven to have an earth.
Humans don't have more power than, or do we?
I don't know what you mean by more power. You have to specify.
Overpower. Overpower.
It's, I don't, again, it depends how you translate overpower. I'm not trying to be too specific. It's a, this is the, thank you. This is the end result. This is the point. The point is not heaven. If the point was heaven, a very simple construct of understand this. If the point was heaven, why did he keep on creating this? He just should have stopped. If his intention was to create heaven and angels, great. Then why even bother with this? This seems like a waste of time.
Unless we're the data model
And you typically stop when you're done,
at the end of the story.
not when you're finished,
Yeah,
but when you're
very,
done,
very,
when you reach the point. This is the end. And the end of all is the human being, the last thing. That's like, that's the purpose. So this is where the purpose is at. Doesn't mean that those other elements or realms don't serve a role. Of course they do. They wouldn't exist if they didn't. But the tachlit hakavah, like the purpose, the intention, those are supporting cast. This is like the Oscar for lead is only here. Supporting could be up there.
Can we answer why then we don't have any, go back to that?
No,
Yeah, go back.
I think the answer is because it's so fundamental. There's no like, how can you pigeonhole it into one mitzvah? It's the whole thing. Yeah. I didn't come up with something else. The flow of conversation today was, look, there's no specific mitzvah, but we do have customs. By the way, Everly, good to see you. We do have customs, and the custom here is dairy. Why dairy? And that launched us onto today's conversation. That was the arc of the convo. Huh?
It launched it into the
Launched it. Good to see you. Welcome. How long you in town? Nice.
Oh, it's
Very
already
cool.
today.
Amazing. All right. Larry, Merle, Dr. Maxi, Maritza, Lisa, Matt, Frank, Mariana. Great to see you guys.
Thank you. Next big issue.
All right.
Thank you for the beautiful class. We are in the same place in New York. Yeah.
We were just together for lunch a few weeks ago.
Yes,
there in
the
Bagel.
same place. And with the bagel.
Unbelievable. Wow. I'm getting
Yeah. And look at you.
That's amazing. Thank you. First of all, thank you for a show. That's amazing. No, this is up inside. No, I was in New York. I was there for a weekend. So we met. We had bagels right over there by Bagels & Co. This is right by Chabad of the Upper East Side. It's like a block or two away. Oh my gosh, so much fun. Oh, I miss being with you guys. It was so much fun over there. Oh, very nice.
Thank you very much. All the blessings
from
for
Chile.
Shavuot.
There for a little bit in New York. So this is yeah. Oh no, well, they're also gonna be here soon. Good to see you guys. Enjoy. Wish I was there. All right, Matt, good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye Merle, bye Larry, bye Lisa, bye Maritza. Shavuot Tov and Chag Sameach.